Among the several shows produced by Cartoon Network, one I don't see mentioned very often is Sheep in the Big City. It's a show I do have some memory of watching when it first aired and getting some enjoyment out of it, and revisiting it now, its delightfully wacky humor has held up really well. Created by Willems, it takes its simple premise of a sheep trying to live life in the city and attempting to avoid capture from a secret military organization, and takes it down so many inspired avenues. What most stands out about the show is how everyone seems aware they exist in a television series, and Willems and his writers fill Sheep in the Big City with several metagags. Even the inciting incident has a lot of silliness to it as a military group tries to catch the main character Sheep to use in a sheep-powered ray gun. Why don't go for any other sheep out there is part of the silliness of the series, and you just have to run with it. You immediately get the gist of the humor of the show when it has characters with names like General Specific and Private Public. Unusually, for an animated series, Sheep in the Big City only had 3 credited writers throughout its entire run, including Willems. One of them was Muppet performer and writer Joe Mazzarino, who Willems had previously worked with when he was a writer on Sesame Street. The other is comedian David Wayne, who would later go on to direct Wet Hot American Summer and Role Models. So it's not surprising the show had such a wacky sensibility and sense of humor, and a willingness to go to outrageous places. While the episodes did have a specific structure and several running gags, there was nonetheless an unpredictability to where they would go, and there are episodes that play around with the format. The humor placed a heavy emphasis on wordplay and other gags of that sort, and one of the most enjoyable aspects of the series is the narrator. Even though he is hired to just read the pages handed to him, he will often get annoyed at the script and complain to those outside the recording booth. He will frequently interact with the characters themselves, and in one episode he hates the ending so much that he takes it upon himself to rewrite the whole thing to his satisfaction. The show even makes fun of some of the requirements that networks tend to place on their series. Cartoon Network seemed to impose a rule that any on-screen text had to be read out loud. So there's literally a character whose entire purpose is reading the words on the screen, and who proudly announces his love of reading signs. The show also features commercial breaks and other vignettes in between the main story. Most of the commercials are from a corporation named the Oxymoron Company, which seems to have a monopoly in the show's universe. Hilariously, the whole deal is pushing products that are completely useless and at times even dangerous, much to the confusion and annoyance of the people in the commercials. Sometimes the products even make return appearances with a promise that they've been improved, but not really, like a shrimp-flavored soft drink. There are little shows within the show, like the Sombrero Brothers, a completely uncoordinated comedy duo who often frustrate and disappoint the narrator. There are also parodies, like one that imitates the animation style of Speed Racer, and another that makes fun of preschool shows where they try to interact with the audience. Almost every episode ends with an appearance by the Ranting Swede, whose deal is ranting about completely trivial things and taking certain phrases far too literally. Beyond the jokes and silliness, there is an investment hoping Sheep can find happiness in the big city. He's a genuinely sympathetic character, and you root for him to avoid being captured by the secret military organization, or to have some time with his girlfriend, Swanky the Poodle, without being beaten up by her owner. The show itself is a message about tolerance and the difficulty in finding acceptance in a place where everyone seems to discriminate against someone for who they are. So when Sheep does find acceptance from people who like and respect him, it is rather heartwarming, and I especially like how the narrator gets genuinely concerned for his safety and that he wants so much for things to work out for him. The people working in the secret military organization have their own fully formed personalities, and sometimes will even have storylines not about capturing Sheep. There's a lot of humor born out of the way General Specific runs his military operation and his desire to be the top general. One of the most amusing running gags involves everyone referring to the angry scientist as the mad scientist and his irritation at that. And again, you have the wonderful wordplay frequently on display, especially with the names and how they perceive certain phrases. There's also Farmer John, a somewhat dim-witted farmer who wants Sheep to return to him. While the first episode makes it seem like he'll be a major character in the show, he only sporadically pops up from time to time, usually when it's a plot about Sheep possibly returning to the farm. The show will sometimes feature an episode that breaks from the norm and does something completely unexpected but no less delightful. One of my favorite episodes replaces the traditional show with a silent cartoon, complete with affectionate tributes to Charlie Chaplin and early Disney. There's another episode that's entirely made up of the characters having nightmares, which goes to some outlandish places. The final episode of Sheep in the Big City especially plays into the premise of this being a show everyone is putting on, and we see the characters on the set and what they do when they're not filming. They even play things backwards, by starting with the Ranting Swede and ending with the intro, and since this was the last episode, it becomes a clever full circle moment for the series. With the emphasis on puns and wordplay, fast-paced humor, simple animation style, villains trying to catch animals, and even wacky chapter titles, the most obvious comparison is to the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. Sheep in the Big City absolutely does feel like the kind of series Jay Ward would have produced, and yet surprisingly, Mo Willems revealed in an interview that he never saw Rocky and Bullwinkle until after people kept telling him it reminded him of that series. But that does so well in capturing that style of humor as a compliment to what the writers accomplished. Before the series aired, Cartoon Network appeared to have a lot of confidence in Sheep in the Big City. They even spent money on this excellent trailer promoting the series and very much in keeping with its comedic sensibilities.
It's a sheep-powered ray gun! This one's sheep, sir!
We're not here to count sheep, soldier! We're not here to count sheep.
Sheep in the Big City, a new cartoon series nothing like this trailer.
It's such a clever piece of advertising, which also seemed to parody how many animated shows were being adapted into live-action movies at the time, and they're already getting ahead of the game by imagining what a blockbuster-sized live-action Sheep in the Big City movie might have been like. Promotions like that helped the show score big ratings for its premiere, but then for whatever reason, interest seemed to drop, and it was not able to sustain an audience. Due to declining ratings, Cartoon Network canceled the show after its second season. They did ask Willems to make a special to wrap up the series, and characters in the storyline were even drawn up, which would have involved Sheep being captured by a military man named Admirable Qualities. However, the special was never made, and Willems would move over to codename Kids Next Door, serving as one of the principal writers of the series for several seasons. A few months after the show's last episode aired, Sheep did appear in the Cartoon Network logo at the beginning of the Powerpuff Girls movie, so that was neat. However, for the most part, Sheep in the Big City has been largely ignored since then. Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers even seemed disinterested in making the show legally available. The first season was briefly on iTunes, and a few episodes have been released on DVD, but a full series box set has yet to be released. A few years ago, the entire series was added to HBO Max in Latin America. Cartoon Network cares so little that, as I'm recording this, the entire series was uploaded by a YouTube channel 3 years ago and has still not been taken down. There was finally some acknowledgement when a statue of Sheep appeared in a special crossover episode of OK Kyo Let's Be Heroes in 2018. But otherwise, Sheep in the Big City has been largely forgotten about, which is a shame. The show was funny, clever, and willing to go some inventive places with its storytelling and comedic approach, and I'm happy Willems was able to make such a wacky and delightful series. See you next time.